Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review. And we're looking at a variety of topics related to connectivity with the outside world. So first, IDE support.
Yes, so we had some leftover business there because we are almost ready to have the new version of the VS Code extension. There was a discussion about the support for notebooks. Now, notebooks, in the way Visual Studio Code and Jupyter understand them, so these are entirely product specific. And there was a question of whether we really want to have some file format that tries to mimic some of our notebook support, but is really specific. Now, we had a meeting with Ian from Frontend, and there was a really nice possibility to make this more seamless. So these notebooks will be specific to Visual Studio Code, which is the market leader in all of this IDE, and others do that as well. But we can easily develop an importer into our notebook expressions, because I mean this is just JSON and we can just write a bunch of. Okay, and then the interesting thing is that once you have that, you can add another.
We can just import. We can just open.
We can open these notebooks in our front end. It's a one-way street, but that's fine, right?
Well, can't we do a save as?
No, because we would lose all the information. And I mean, I think the point, what we are trying to do is somebody developing code, doing some debugging and examples, and then import it.
Okay, so hold on. The statement they lose a bunch of information. Is it the case that, I mean, save as, in plenty of situations, save as will lose information. It'll just give you a warning saying you're going to lose information. Do you want to do this?
I mean, we haven't looked at, but I mean, it's entirely doable. But I mean, those notebooks are much.
I understand they're much weaker.
Yes. So the question is, does it make sense? Do we want to support it? If we can, we.
I don't see why we shouldn't. I mean, with a big warning message that says you're going to lose all the material. You probably should use our notebooks instead. You know, don't use this much weaker thing.
Yes, but I mean, then why not? I mean.
Yes, but I mean, with an appropriate warning message dialogue, I think that's the right thing to do.
Yes, I mean, it seems entirely doable. I mean, it's both structured documents and.
What is abandoned full notebook render? What does that mean?
Well, there was a question of whether we want to have a full notebook support inside Visual Studio Code. And it would be doable by duplicating the cloud front end inside Visual Studio Code.
Why the hell would we do that?
That's yes. I mean that is the conclusion from all these discussions. It would be an enormous amount of, and it's no point. I mean, we have a front end, right? I mean,
yeah, right. So who cares, right?
Yes. So if that's fine, then it's only the question of the notebook, of the file extension. I think it should make it clear that this is not our notebooks, but it's Visual Studio, a specific Visual Studio Wolfram notebook.
I understand why we need the W in there. We have the note with the NB extension. If somebody else has tried to put their version of it in there, so be it. But I think VSNB seems like a reasonable.
So Suman may have. Yeah. I mean, he did research on all the existing notebook formats. So is there a conflict?
No.
Then
if we call it
VSNB.
WSNB, okay.
VSNB.
Is that fine?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There is no conflict.
Okay, very good. So,
okay, let's move on to the next item.
Okay, sorry, that was a double click instead of a single click. So there is an old project called Wolfram System Extension Points. Now the project's scope is to document all ways in which our system can be extended.
Yep.
And much to our surprise, this was actually done. And there is a very nice, if I'm trying to share that, Wolfram document that collects all of these at the time of writing about a year ago, all of these extension points, like you can add new import-export formats, you can add your own random number generators, wavelets,
who produced this?
And so on. This was Bradley, right? You did.
No, I believe that was Carla.
It was Carla Santana did this.
Okay. Yes, so this is a very nice document. So it has links to the existing documentation, which describes how to do all of
Okay,
these
could you
things.
scroll down, please, and see what's there?
So these are things which are internal, which are not that well documented. And we could think in parallelize, why not? Information is something that we might make available to everybody. And Jesse may have a way to provide information about adding your own remote batch computation provider stuff like that. And then there's obviously some internal stuff like internal context. System services is something we're still working on. So this is a good list, but let me go back to my notes. It will get outdated if it's not maintained.
Well, okay, but
So-
the point of making this list was to understand what things Packlets should be able to have in them, and that was the number one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Packlets, right? I mean, it's, for example, style sheets in front end, stuff like that.
Right.
Or
What Stephen means there, Roman,
Mhm.
and that was one of the points of this list, was that these are all things that could potentially be sort of supported by the Packlet
Packlets,
system.
yes. So you load a Packlet
Could you
that
go back to that
performs.
list for a second, please,
Yes,
Rowan?
I will.
Okay, so import export. So which of these are now supported in Packlets?
There's been nothing new has been added in this list for a while. Like there's no import export support in Packlets. You can't declare, an import converter in a Packlet yet.
Do we want that?
I think that would be useful.
But alternatively, it's just like there is a function that does it, and as part of Packlet initialization, you could run that function.
Exactly.
Style sheets can be added by Packlets, right?
So can we notate this, please, by what can be added and what cannot?
So, I mean, there is actually some meta information there, how to extend it, so call import export. So here you have to perform an initialization. There's the documentation. Supported by Packlet Manager, I think that's one. No, but yes, I think that's the line that we want to work on to make this more.
Well, I mean,
supported.
we have to prioritize these. Does it make sense? Okay. So
I mean, here I would assume that if you have a Packlet that provides certain import export functionality, then just calling that register import as part of the initialization would seems perfectly
sure,
fine.
but the question is, many Packlets have their own, foobar import type thing, special functions for importing. Whereas what this would allow one to do is to knit it into existing import export, but it doesn't completely succeed because it's not going to be on the documentation pages. It's not completely obvious it's what people want. It could be that for a specialized Packlet, one is better off having a custom import function. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Could you go back to the page?
One thing this does let us do though is you type import, block, comma, and then some unknown format. And the Packlet manager then says, okay, does any Packlet claim to supply
Oh,
this?
sure.
import?
No, I agree. Now, another question. Let's see. So yeah, that's a thing like go search Packlets. If you say import of some weird file extension, does it go search imports for that? Okay, could you close up that thing and let me see the rest of the list? Okay, random number generators, I just don't see a call for. Wavelets, I don't see a call for. Okay, I mean, again, what is stream methods?
Don't see what this does.
Pretty low level. You can define a custom stream and supply the read write methods and such.
I don't see this being that important. Could you just close that up again, please? Okay, here's something I don't think is on here, is auto-completion extensions. See what I'm saying?
Yes, so LSP server type things.
Yes. I mean, I've added I've added some function, I've added some string value for something, kind of, set up autocomplete for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is the
What-
currently
Go
the
ahead.
only way to do this is through the documentation, right?
I don't know.
Where you
I
fill
don't
in
know.
the table of possible
Right. I think this
options
list
and
looks
stuff like
nice,
that.
but I don't think this list is
Mhm.
complete.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, I mean, if it's not maintained, then it will rust
But
very,
could you go
very
back to that
quickly.
list, please? Go back to the
Okay.
list for a second. Go back there.
It doesn't
Okay.
have any compiler stuff on it, for example. It's definitely incomplete.
New Arduino type boards can be added in device framework.
Okay. I mean, look, there's a bunch of things missing here. Okay, so let me talk about another thing. Remember, I had that thing. Well, so for example, right now, I have some GPU code, external GPU code. I want to be able to package it up and have it run on any platform. So put it in a WFR-like place. I mean, that's the type of thing. A Packlet should be able to include something like that. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
And that seems to me more important than many of the things that we have on this list. I just don't think.
Can I suggest that I mean, the external evaluate discussion, unfortunately, will take some time, and it's very important we do it today. So
Right.
while
Let's
while this thing is probably
stop doing
important,
this.
we can.
Okay, Ricardo, go ahead, share, please.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So where we are. Basically, we are trying to design external evaluate objects, and how they work with sub values and functionality, everything that you can do with them. So let's start by starting a session and work with a Python module that is about manipulating IP address and network. So what we are doing and experimenting with is that you call a sub value, and sub value just mean attribute extraction, attribute lookup. And so, for example, in Python, if you do address version, it will be equivalent of doing dot version. So you will see in all this code there are comments, and into the comment there is like the equivalent Python code that you're running. So we have been importing IP address, and when we are doing dot version, we are calling dot
Okay,
version.
and that's
Correct.
the default. But so now, what is it? Okay, show me this.
Okay, now we can go with casting. So you can put another operation if the operation is the symbol external object or string. We are doing or expression. We are doing the casting to that type. So for example, we can add for version. This is just a number, but you can ask to have it as an external object, or you can ask to have it as a string.
Okay, but let me hold on. Type address of version, comma real, or address of version, comma integer.
No, it doesn't work that way. The type needs to be defined into the external evaluation system, and the system
Okay, show me what it does in that case. Just show me what it does. Show me what it does. I know you don't know what it does. But
it's gonna break horribly.
I understand.
Because unfortunately, like this
implementation
is.
Okay, all right. So fine. So what should it do here? What first thing it should do? What's that?
No, go ahead.
I mean, where's the discovery interface for this? How do I find out what types this?
Okay. Well, there was an idea of putting things under information. And so under information, we can ask for different things, including operation. And one could be return types, could be done with information. So basically, you will do information of the object, and then I guess return types. Or yeah.
Well, presumably it will offer that as part of the association that is formatted for information.
Yes. So one possibility is this one.
I mean, there aren't that many external systems that support external object notation, and I think expression and external object are by far the most important ones that are universally supported.
Okay.
And expression will give you an integer or real depending on what it is.
I mean, the default is expression. Yeah, the default is expression. And it falls back to external object when we don't know how to translate it. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. One thing to comment here is that there is an automatic system here, Stephen, that by default decides which type is appropriate. So usually these things are only when for some reason you want to divert that system to this.
I understand. Okay, so on the face of it, it seems reasonable. So last time we had talked about the sub-value thing, and I think we had concluded. So scrolling up a little bit, please. Right. Actually, why don't you go on, scroll down? I mean, so far the casting thing looks okay, although I have some questions about it.
Yes.
I want to come back to it.
Yes, I know. Okay, let's do it real quick, and then you.
What the heck is that?
What's that?
What is that?
What?
What you just did there? Oh.
Okay, so basically, string is a magic method in Python. All stuff with double underscore are magic method in Python. That they are like method that all objects have. So every object defines a string method. Okay, and so what I'm showing here is that if you do version string, basically you are asking to get dot version dot string. So this returns a function because this is a function, and you're getting it as an external function. So then you can simply call it. Even if this is not the only way to do this,
I'm sorry,
it can be done.
I'm confused. You can't have both the thing above and this thing here. In other words, if you can't have both the second argument to the sub value be subcasing. I mean, in other words, to what extent? I mean, in general, there could be many nested attributes, correct?
Yes.
Nested attributes are a thing. So let's talk about
why don't you see the full picture, because it will become clear why is this thing. This thing is a shortcut that I will explain. Okay, multiple object extraction. So you slap a list in the first argument, and basically this is what it means. It means that you got the object up to here, and now you're asking for a version,
a list of
reference
things.
point.
Yep,
yes.
I get it.
Now you can put external object as well.
Yeah, and you get two
now
external objects.
Both objects, perfect. Now if you put another list,
I don't like it.
You can
I understand
do
it, but I don't like
lookup.
it. I don't like it. Okay, so
Same
how many
thing
more
with
things?
Names. Some stuff.
Yeah. What's that?
Name the. This is the named version. So you put an association.
I understand.
Same stuff.
I understand. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Now you can. Okay, how do you call methods? So you create an object, comes back as an external object, and you can use external.
But this is now a different branch. We're looking at a different thing, right? So I should comment on the property extraction stuff first. Is that correct? Or is the thing that you're showing me now dependent on?
No, then you can.
All right. So look, here's my comment. Scroll up, please. Okay. I'm assuming that in this multiple attribute, no, not multiple, the one above, nested attribute extraction, right? You could go .a, .b, .c, .d, correct? Can be any depth, right? Okay,
sure.
So I've got two questions here. So first of all, is it the case that you can think of those expressions as opposed to strings that appear in the argument list, in the sub-value argument list, as being the equivalent of sort of a pseudo, just like the underscore str is a pseudo property, that you could think of expression string being there as a pseudo property. Does that make sense?
Not sure what you mean exactly.
Okay, so what I mean is this. What you can't do is have the second argument of the sub-value sometimes mean nested attribute extraction and sometimes mean typecasting. The only way you can get away with doing that.
I'm getting away with it, and it's later.
Yeah, I think the idea is that these successive arguments.
We need to go after by explaining external operation, and this is what I wanted to do: introduce external operation first, and then go with this stuff. But basically, you need to understand what is an external operation, and why it works this way. So basically,
go on. Yes.
Okay. But okay, before we go into external operation, there is a simple way that you can call a method with by using external functions. So you put the object as a first argument to external function. Second argument is the attribute. And then you can just call it. So for example, if the object itself is, or on the other hand, if the object itself is a function, you can directly use external function. But basically, this is calling.
I'm totally confused. I'm totally confused. Let's
Steven,
start from the
let
beginning
me
here.
quickly explain from the other side.
Okay.
Just a single sentence. We want to make sure that method calls for languages which support methods will be done within the same interface of external function if people prefer to think of everything as a function, not as a method. And then we unify it by allowing people to call external function with two arguments. First, the object. Second, the name of the method. We say it's basically still a function. It's just a function that is named this way.
And there aren't nested
And in this way, you can call a
calls.
method.
The method is just dot blah or whatever it is. Just the
Yeah,
method
yeah.
that's
In
For
this
this
case,
syntax,
yes.
yes. If you,
Yes.
Well, wait a minute.
Yes, if
What's
you-
the in this case? Is there an alternative? Is there a thing
yes,
where you
if you want a nested chained method call, we have a more general syntax for that, but that does not involve external function as the main calling
Well,
thing.
I'm not sure that's the right thing. I mean, if you can do the chain, you should be able to do the whole chain, not just the single, the single method case.
Right. It's more the
Maybe.
convenience.
Yes, I mean, maybe I was thinking that here you're going to specify multiple string, but this is really more syntax sugar on the generic case that we're
Let's see
going
the
to
generic
show.
case.
Okay, so let's start introducing external operation. External operation is what is basically, we are exposing basically the actual operation that you can do on the evaluator. So one operation, for example, is evaluating a string of code. That operation is called eval. So when you write it like this, 2 + 2, but in theory, you could also write this. This is more explicit. Basically, you are saying, that I want to
Okay, so
perform the
external
eval
operation
operation.
in our evaluator is inert. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, but it is.
This is just a tree, like a Wolfram language expression, more or less, the way you need to think about it. And so, for example, let's say that you want to write rep of 2, which is, the function rep, which is transforming a string in Python. And so you do eval of rep, that will give you the function. And then you call this guy with the number 2.
Yeah,
This is how you will write this. Okay. Now, if you want to write something more complex, like this one, it's going to be slightly more complicated, but still it's going to be something like, you need to write, first you need to have the map operation, then you need to have the rep, then you need to call range of 10, etc., etc. And so this is how you would write this piece of code explicitly by nesting operation, which is something that you probably don't want to do very often.
There is an application.
There is a useful operation like import, for example, that we want to expose, that basically allow you to import a module, for example.
Okay, so what are the possible first arguments of external operation? It will vary with the
It
external
depends.
Exactly,
Exactly, yes.
So, for
Typically,
example,
they
for Python,
are.
what's the list? Is it a
Okay,
long list? What's that?
Not so much. It's gonna be call, eval, get attribute, set attribute, import,
fine.
things like that.
This looks like a
And-
reasonable design. Yep, go ahead.
Steven, there's an application template at the bottom, I think. I'm not sure. Did you add that, Ricardo, for like a neural
Yeah,
network?
but I'm not sure we want to
No.
start
Scroll back up. Scroll back up, please.
Yes,
Please.
yes.
No,
Mhm.
down to what you were showing before. Down to what you were just showing.
Right.
Okay. So what I want to know is that next thing. Okay, so I understand the external operation import, blah, blah, blah. What's the 3-argument external operation?
Okay, no, I mean, every operation is vararg in general. In this case, this is just, import IP address and then get the object IP address. So this is
So
more like
is that what is the translation between the var args thing, arg1, arg2, arg3? What's the translation of that to thing dot whatever it is? Is it uniform or is it? I don't understand it.
So the dot is going to be the operation get attribute. The operation get attribute takes takes an object and an attribute name. So it's going to be
No, I don't understand that.
yeah.
You've got the three arguments there. Okay.
Mhm.
What is the? Oh, I see. You've got the translation underneath.
So for
Yeah.
example, get attribute is
No.
this
Wait a
guy.
second. Wait a second. Wait.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't understand the grouping. So in N31,
Okay.
the comment refers to the thing below it, correct?
Yes, okay, those two things are equivalent. Those two things are effectively equivalent because this is something where basically in already existing syntax, you can do, for example, rep of 2, and this means function call. So this is going to be equivalent of calling rep with the number 2. And so basically what I'm doing is that I'm calling IP address with this string. And this is a more explicit way of writing it, where basically I'm
Okay, I
saying
get it.
import and
Yeah, I
I'm
get it. But
calling.
I'm still asking about the three
Okay.
argument version. I'm still asking about the three argument version. What does that
Okay.
mean?
Okay, so it means import the module IP address, get the attribute this
Okay,
guy.
now what if there are
and this,
nested attributes? So what if there are two arguments? What if the import there has
well,
two arguments?
most of the time you really need to only get one level. So I
Okay,
think
what
this design
happens if
is
that function
reasonable.
has two arguments?
Which
What
function?
happens if the import function had two arguments?
It doesn't.
So
Because,
no,
because this is an operation that mimics the import. It's not directly like calling import or whatever. This is like one operation that we are designing
no, I understand,
that is
but
doing
okay,
exactly
so
that.
in the language foo, okay, how
Okay.
do we guarantee that operations are monadic, only have one argument?
We don't.
Okay,
think.
but then how does this work? Because this has a heterogeneous thing. We've got the operation. Then the next argument is an argument of that operation. And then the next argument here is a dotting, an attribute, a property of that.
No. I mean, in general, the operation is like Wolfram language. It's var args. Like, you can have an operation that is image identified. It takes one argument, or you can have another operation takes 2 or 3 or more argument. It depends on the operation.
I understand. Okay, could you just
That's the
write
same
out
stuff.
external? Okay, just write out. Just type on
Okay.
a separate line.
Mhm.
Type on a separate line. External
Sure.
operation of O or op or something.
I think
Op.
I can explain it
Okay,
concisely.
and then okay, op and then arg1. Just type arg1, comma, arg2, comma, prop1, prop1, comma, prop2.
Okay.
Is that valid, and what does it mean?
I have no idea what it means. You wrote it.
Okay, so wait a second. So my question is,
It's not valid. That's
okay,
not.
and explain why it's not valid.
No, it is valid. I mean, it won't fail.
Not to
It's
mean what
symbolic
Steven
thing, but
thinks.
when you execute it, it will fail because OP is not defined in Python. And
No.
this stuff is
I
meaningless.
mean replace with OP an operation supported in some language. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now, if that operation takes two arguments, right, and then it takes a nested property dot prop1 dot prop2, where do we go?
I don't.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Steven,
really.
again, at the bottom, there's a more complicated example that I think has these multiple argument cases.
But
So
it can be nested.
Steven, I
Like,
think
I don't know if you want to do stuff like prop1, prop2, you can just keep nesting it.
There is a
Steven-
simple explanation here.
Yeah.
Basically, this is tied to the dot operation. So it requires a second argument in the fully expanded form to always be external object. Everything else just follows the standard sequence of arguments for the method.
You're not answering my question.
No, Steven.
This
Steven,
operation, I'm trying to understand in language X, when we are defining an external operation, the syntax you are proposing has two kinds of things, which is different from what we have in Wolfram language, where we don't have two different kinds of what amount to function arguments. Right? In this case, you have the things inside the parens and the things after the dot. And they're sort of like two branches of function arguments. Correct?
No. Steven, call is always parens, and get attribute is always dot. Import
I
is
know.
special. It's
So I'm
import that is
asking
weird.
if the call has two arguments, okay? The syntax
Call doesn't have two
doesn't-
arguments. Call is vararg as well.
The call
No,
arguments
I didn't
all
mean
go
that.
in the
I mean,
parens.
okay. Does anybody, Todd? Do you understand?
Yes,
what
I
I'm
understand.
going for there?
Look, I think there's some confusion here because even that op that you're seeing, that's not the name of a Python method. That's one of these magic operations like
I
call.
know.
for
So
example.
you're saying in
So
Python,
call, yeah, write it
all
out
the
with
magic
call.
things only have one argument, right? That's what you're telling me. In Python, the magic things have one argument, and therefore there's not ambiguous. Correct?
No, it depends. The magic thing can have more. For example, there is equality method that takes
Okay, then
another
how
object.
does this work?
Hold on a second. That's not what he means when he says magic, Ricardo. He's talking about
Okay.
call, eval, import. He's talking about those as the magic. When Stephen
But,
says
but
magic,
what I'm saying is, in the Wolfram language syntax here for external operation, we are not distinguishing between arguments and properties. They are being just fed in there as varargs things. Is that going to work? If you tell me you will never want more than one arg there, then the syntax is unambiguous. If you tell me I don't know how many args there are going to be there, I have a random number of args and then a random number of props, then the syntax is horribly ambiguous.
But I don't understand why you're mixing those up. The args are things that you do with call, and props are things that you do with get attribute.
Because we have a syntax here that is doing that. It is saying put in something with call, put in something with get attribute.
But
right?
which one? Which one are you looking at on the screen that does that?
No, it is the import. I mean, the import operation. I mean, this is just. I mean, we.
Okay, I don't understand
forget
why
about-
you guys are not getting
Forget
this.
about this. Forget about this operation. But the thing is that this operation is importing a module and getting something out of the module.
I know.
This is what it's doing.
And if
Okay.
if the importing of the module needed two arguments, which I know that particular magic thing doesn't require that, if it needed two arguments, you have a messy, ambiguous syntax. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're relying on the fact that that magic thing only has one argument. And I'm asking the question, it is not at all obvious to me that in every language we can imagine, the magic thing that appears in an operation will only have one argument.
So isn't the case that the only thing that can have multiple arguments is call, which calls a function that may have...
No, you can invent anything. It could be in some language, this could be, open a door to hyperspace or something.
Yeah, but
it has
Steven,
17 arguments.
But the point is, you see, in Python, for example, call is vararg, get attribute is not vararg, and you split them in two different things so that you don't have this ambiguity.
I know,
but
we are putting them together in one thing. That's what I'm complaining about.
But
You see what I'm saying?
No, my point is that for external language X, there will be a documentation of call, of import that documents whether they're vararg, whether they're one arg.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna
okay. So
also
let
be
me be
called
clear on what you're
differently
saying.
because
Let me
in
be clear.
Node.js is going to be called require, for example. I mean, with this design, you can really, do anything, meaning that you can adapt it to every language.
Let me make a suggestion. Okay, I think your syntax there is ambiguous. Now, it could be that in any particular language, go back up to the thing where we had op, arg1, arg2. No. Just the thing I had you type in. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. That is messy and ambiguous. All right. So you can make the decision for any given language. Oh, all the ops only have exactly one argument. Right? We can document that. My suggestion is there's a fallback here, which is external operation of an association where the association has a thing that says, operation goes to blah, arguments goes to blah, properties goes to blah, whatever it is.
I'm not sure about that. I want to give the external operation plain and simple like Wolfram language, and it's powerful enough.
Okay. Do you understand the point that I'm making or not?
I think I understand. This example that's highlighted here that you had is not really, it's not meaningful. It doesn't mean anything in Ricardo's style.
In Python, it doesn't mean anything. In language X, we have no way to guarantee it's going to mean something.
Just take op out. I think you're thinking that this is some sort of chained call, like a function call with two arguments and then a property extraction.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. That's
not at all. You would not write that this way. Just
Okay.
change
But
opt to call.
yes, but also I don't think like why we should design something like this. It's up to us to design operation, and why we should design something messy like
Yeah,
this.
Okay,
I-
fine,
I don't-
fine.
just change
don't
opt
get
to
All
it.
right,
call.
okay. All right.
Can I be a bit
That's not how
nerdy?
you do chaining.
Like,
That's not how you
I-
do chaining this.
Steven, I think that the question here is whether it's possible to design. These are S expressions, really. This is Lisp. And so the question is whether
Correct.
you can design any abstract syntax tree of any language just with S expressions. And I think you can.
Well, not
They
if you
might
do it
be
this
ugly,
way.
but they're general enough.
No, but this is a single list. That's the whole point. It's a single level list. That varargs thing inside external operation.
No, but
is a
that's
single level
the
list.
point. It's S expressions. You define them any way you want, and in case you nest more than one, and so you can have an S expression.
But so you're saying you nest external operations.
Of
Correct.
course, which is
Correct.
what Ricardo
All
is
right,
doing
okay,
just
all right,
there
okay,
below
fine.
with colon get
Fine,
attribute.
fine. All right, I get it.
So basically, this is how, yeah. I mean, internally, for example, when we do this thing,
No,
right?
no, I get it. You'd convert it into a bunch
I
of
want
calls.
just to understand that, like, the new implementation, that when you take this association, is basically transforming this guy into a val, this guy into a call,
Yep.
etc., etc. So it's going to be a nested operation. It's just that we
Right,
are
I
writing
get
here
it.
under
I
the hood.
understand. So you're saying we are responsible for defining what external operation of op
Correct.
does, and we'll
Yes.
make sure it doesn't do anything crazy.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fine.
Now,
I'm
the
good
other
with that.
thing is that the only evaluation that the external operation is doing is that when you call it with sub values, whatever is the sub value that you're calling with, they're gonna be pushed at the beginning of the operation.
No.
And you are going to understand why. Just wait, please.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's say we are calling the network we are calling this object with sub values. Host, as I was saying, is going to be an attribute, dot host. This is going to be a function. You can call it like this. There's going to be
I know. I
to
understand.
call, etc., etc. So now you can do host external operation call. What this does is that you need to imagine that host is going to be transformed into external operation.
Yeah.
Of get attribute of host. This is what it means, really.
No, wait a second. Fill that in. Get attribute there.
Yeah. And this is going to be equivalent
No, wait a second. Wait a second. Get attribute.
of
It's
host.
the call attribute. No, I don't understand that. I don't understand.
Okay, so what is happening here? I'll show you. Basically, when you run this guy, okay, what is really happening is that we take this guy and we call it with this guy. Okay. Then we take the result of this guy and we call it with this guy. And we keep going on. And in the end, this guy evaluates by pushing this thing at the beginning. So you get attribute, network host, and then you're moving this guy at the beginning of call, which is what is happening here. And so when you run this operation, first of all, you're getting the attribute host, and then you are calling the result of this operation with this object, with this call. And so now, basically, yeah, this is, as I was saying, this is equivalent of writing host. This is just a shortcut, which is why the other operation where we're doing host of external object, what really is get attribute of host and cast to external object. So basically, everything that is not an external object,
Yeah, okay.
get a meaning that, yeah. I mean, possibly we can also allow this. Not a big fan. But yeah, so basically you can get host, for example, you can call it host. And then we're calling the method string on it, right? This is what it's doing. So in this operation, for example, let's say that we call the host method and we return it as an external object. Now that we have this external object, we can call the next method We can call it multiple times. And what the next method does is that it's getting the next item out of the Python generator. And so you basically you can get a generator out of Python that a generator in Python can be infinite without consuming it directly in Wolfram language. That will blow up your kernel and memory, etc. So you get the generator as an external object, and then you can manually call the method next in order to fetch the next object. Here I'm doing 3 times. You basically need to do it, I don't know, many times, and then at some point it will start failing because the iterator is exhausted.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do...
Wait, let me read that for just a second. Hold on. Stop.
Sure.
Stop.
Sure.
Out 88 is an iterator object. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So basically here I'm getting out the host, and I'm calling it a string just to show you that what the call method does really is to return a generator. Now in Wolfram language, when we encounter a generator in Python, we decided to expand it and return a list to you.
I get it. I get it. In the external object, visual thing, why are you not calling the string operation rather than giving the rather useless information that is in that external object?
You mean here?
Summary box. Yes.
We could.
I think it would be useful to show what it is, because what I'm seeing from that is nothing terribly useful. Is module,
Correct.
is class, who cares?
I mean, it can be done. There is like a query. For example, some Python object, they could be like, for example, a database connection, a database query. Calling a string might trigger an operation that is expensive. But
so then
it is true that when you do it in Python and you are doing it interactively, this is what is happening. You are triggering that operation. So this is a front end, and it's okay, I guess, to trigger that operation.
It has a callback here. When it's trying to format, it has some callback. It could have a timeout. You see what I'm saying? So that you can actually see.
Yeah, but there is another problem.
Yes.
There is another problem with that, Stephen, which is that it may very easily go out of sync, because in general we are dealing with mutable state, and it will get the form that the object had at the moment.
I think that we run the string operation when we return the external object. This way it won't get out of sync, I think.
I don't know.
We do it every time.
It could get out of sync. Listen. It's the thing that is on the screen. Okay, it's just like if I say x equals 7, I type x. I get 7 on the screen. Now I type x equals 8. I type x. I get 8 on the screen, but I've still got that previous 7 sitting on the screen.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time when the printing happened, the value was this. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do with external object.
But Stephen, I think that like in cases where we had the boxes do some kind of external operation, like for example, the entity label, it's stuff that we've had to put weird things in the front end to support it, and many people who are trying to do something with large amounts of data just turn it off because it breaks.
That's because we didn't do our job properly. That's not an excuse to not do our job here. We should get something that is actually useful to see, rather than a big long list of things that say that are not classes, which is not very interesting.
Yeah, but what if the type name is rather than some trying to represent the value of the object as a string?
Well, the type name would be a good start, but you might not know the type name. I'm just telling you,
I think that
we can make this more useful. Right?
Yeah, but Stephen,
I think I might agree. I'm not sure.
This is an external language. You have no control on that. Maybe string is triggering something that has a side effect.
Who knows?
Increases some counter, and then you can do it programmatically later.
Okay, I'm just telling you, whatever an interactive session in language X does, that's what we should do here.
It is true that when you do in Python, right, you evaluate an expression in Python, and you do the number 2, or you import a date time, and then you do date time date, distinct formats. And so if this is an external language, well, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, right, distinct formats. And so we can probably do that because Python itself is doing it, and this is this is no different from
Right. So okay. So that's
from an
what I'm saying.
interactive session,
Yeah, right.
more or less. I think it's okay. It is true that when you're calling string over a query, or for
Okay.
example
Listen,
in
guys,
Django or
we're going to
whatever,
run out of
is
time here. We're going to run out of
correct.
time. So let's.
Okay, yeah.
How much
The
more
last
stuff do you
thing I
want to go
wanted,
over?
not much. The another useful thing that came out is that, you know, you can call an object with a function. So let's say that you have a function.
Yep.
I'm creating 3 functions here. And then I'm calling the object network with the function. Basically, what I'm doing is to call the function over the object, really. But this is useful because you can chain it after other operations. So for example, you can do host, you can do call, then you can run tuple. So you are converting it to tuple, and then you are asking for the length.
I don't understand this. I don't understand. This is in the sub value. What the heck are you doing in these sub values?
Well, I could fail, right? I mean, I could simply fail. I can say that the external function is not allowed to run on sub values, right? But it's not terribly
But I
useful.
mean, on sub, what are you doing? What does that thing convert into? Is it right associative? It's doing that list of sub values. Is there some kind of right associative thing going on there?
Yes. Yes. So basically, I'm creating the function, then this is the network, and I'm calling with the object. Again, really what you're doing is the opposite thing. You're calling a rep with object. And this is useful because you can chain it. And so saying, you know, I'm calling host, and then I'm calling tuple, and then I'm calling length. And this will roughly
it's really right
to this
composition.
Guy.
Steven, it's really right composition. And it's literally right composition if you write it in this way. It's just expressed in more convenient sub-value syntax.
Right. And the way, yeah.
So just write it out. Just write it out. If you were writing out f of list, you know, just type f open bracket a comma b comma c. Okay, now write out what that really is. Is it C of B of A of F or what?
No, I mean, obviously for a generic F. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, this is
just write it out. What is it?
of F of B of C.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said. Is that what it is?
It is what it is.
I don't think that's quite what it is. Are you sure?
It is, because if you go here, you will see that basically, as I was showing before. Okay, let me do it manually.
Ricardo, can you show an example with the right composition? We have it. Just literally.
I don't know if I have
somewhere on the screen. That would explain things.
That was here. Correct. But not with the object. I would like to do it the same with the object, which is what we did before, right? I mean, I can quickly write it again. Basically, when you're doing this, what you're really writing is a get attribute operation here. So we need to expand it. Sorry. External operation. Blah, blah. Okay. Get attribute, sorry.
You have an extra P as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you really do now is that you call this guy with network, right? And then you call this guy with the call. And then you're calling it with tuple. Then we're calling with length. Conceptually, this is what you're doing. Obviously, it isn't quite this, because if you take tuple, this is an external function, evaluates immediately. So obviously there is some transformation involved. And this is, for example, with this call, this is the external operation that you get out, where basically, you know, every one of these objects got a reference. So this is the operation, something that the user never needs to see. But, you know, when you're getting an object on the other side, there is an operation for that. There is get reference of a number that correspond to a pointer for that object.
Okay, let me ask a meta question.
Yeah.
Meta question. Have you been using this syntax?
Yes.
To write non-trivial code?
Yes.
And has our node been using any of the syntax?
Not yet, but I think you can answer.
Okay, so let's look at this one.
Yeah, it's not working yet. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, as soon as I can use it, I think I can give some real world feedback on this, but this is what we talked about this morning, like as a real world example that I'm working on. That's Keras is a machine learning framework, and that has all sort of like, dot syntax and arguments, all sorts of things. And then Ricardo translated that for me into a, external operation syntax.
Can you scroll down?
Well, it doesn't work because I didn't spend time making it work, but in theory it should work. More or less, basically, every one of these guys an import operation that you pass some data to by calling the operation with data. And then again, this is again another import operation that you do it by applying, but by calling it with all these guys.
But we didn't really discuss arrow syntax, the rule syntax, right? Is that
the rule syntax is uncontroversial because it's already into the system.
But you can use that sub value thing as well.
Sub value, we are not using sub values here, but yeah, yeah. What's worrying you, Steven?
I'm a little concerned. Okay, so take R as an example, Leonid.
Right.
Do you feel like something directly analogous can be done there?
In principle, yes. The only difference is that R much less emphasizes method calls with the dot, although they have that syntax as well. Because for R, R has slightly different concepts of methods. They are all generic functions for R. So essentially, because R is much more functional language than Python, for R, methods are kind of the poor man's analogs of functions. In that sense, in R, the situation is even simpler because essentially you can get away by just having just functions and objects.
So this syntax that Ricardo is proposing, you can have a version of that for R and it will be okay. True or not true?
Yeah, okay. The only thing is I have to say that for R, you will have fewer cases when you will chain things like that simply because...
Okay, I got it. Okay, other interactive languages that we already support.
Node. So for example, Node, I already have an implementation for Node. The only difference is that I think I will call, instead of import, I will call it require. I will work quite the same, I guess, because it's going to be a path and an attribute that you are extracting. Wrap is the same.
Let me have one meta comment pretty quick. Basically, this syntax works best when you have object-oriented languages with the calls where you use dots to have chain calls. That's what it decomposes, and what this design tries to reconcile is the concise analog of the chain function calls with the proper mathematical style, Wolfram language style nesting, functional nesting. And that's what this engine does, essentially.
Yes, but also like the fact is that this design is kind of generic in the fact that when you're calling it with object with sub value, a single string gets translated into a default operation for the system. So we can imagine, for example, that for SQL, an external object is like a query or something. And when you call it with sub value, I don't know, it can be a column, could be something different than getting an attribute, and so it leaves us room to basically implement what's best for every language, really.
Right, but I mean, also one point I was trying to make is that one real difficulty we had with the design was object-oriented languages which use dot notation. Because we wanted to translate dot notation and chaining into the functional nesting, and this is what this thing does. For languages which do not emphasize dot notation, things are even simpler. And R is in that category of languages. So I think that with this design, we now cover pretty much all there is.
Okay. The just throwing two things in there and then we'll wrap up. SQL and the shell. Just talk to me about whether this is relevant in either of those cases.
Okay, so shell, I'm not sure.
There's not really an external object type thing in the shell.
PowerShell has structured data. That might be.
I mean, we can invent an external object that basically contains, because right now we are returning a success and a failure object by default. Maybe that thing can change and we can return an external object. I'm not sure for Shell. I haven't been thinking it through. For SQL, I think it's relevant in a sense that basically, you know, when you're doing an SQL operation, you can ask for a million of rows, and you and having a value that is external object allows you to have an iterator on the other side of the cursor. So it makes sense to do it there, even if we are not really, we haven't discussed SQL at this point. So
Yeah, I would rather,
but I think
put SQL into a
it,
separate category to be discussed yet, because it's
Okay.
yeah, but I
fine.
think it's something that will
might.
fit eventually.
It might.
I don't see.
might.
All right. Okay. But it's not. But okay. My last question. I mean, is there anything here where, I mean, I think I understand what you're doing here. The fact that you're able to use this and it seems to work nicely for you is good. You know, we are clearly trying to sort of build a giant marble building in the middle of a jungle type thing. In other words, we're trying to make some kind of, you know.
But I must admit that, you know, last time when you raised all those concerns and you forced us to redo this design, was a good thing, because this is now better, I think. And also, like with Leonid and everyone agrees that this is now better, because previously this is strictly more powerful. And also, like, it allows us to expose external operation, which allow us to do lazy evaluation, which is something that people won't need to do immediately, probably when you're prototyping and writing and doing stuff interactively. But when you
No, I
need
like
to do
external
something more,
operation. I think that's a good thing. I mean, the only thing that
it's
I'm
something you
concerned
can
about here,
compile, right? It can be seen as a compile target.
right? The thing that I'm concerned about here, okay, is that these languages have function call, parenthesis notation, they have dot notation, and we're kind of somewhat munging these together. Although, as you say, there's a full form in which they're pulled apart with external operation, which is okay, I think. And then the question of what the El Cheapo version of that is for each language is something that you can presumably just document.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And also, I think that this one of the strongest point of this design is that it makes writing these chained calls that people write all the time in this object-oriented languages really snap, and very close conceptually and by how it looks to how they would write in their target language. So that would make it the transition, if people want to write something like that in Wolfram language, much easier.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for this? Nope.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Great.
Do we have a green light on? I mean, I remember you were having some concern on multiple attribute stuff.
Well, I think I think you've convinced me that it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is an explanation of this thing is expanded to a list of.
Wait a minute. Wait. What's this thing here? Hold on 1 second here. Wait a minute. What the heck is this? Line
This is
73.
multiple attribute extraction.
Do we really need to put this syntax in? I mean, this is, oh gosh, this is using, so the concept that it is essentially listably mapping over some multiple things, I get that. It's going to turn into a list. This second case here, the nested list thing on line 16, line 73 is.
Okay, basically what I'm doing is that, you know,
I can see what you're doing.
Every args that is here got pushed in this list here. Because doing a combinatorial product of this will be crazy. Like if you have another list here and another list and another list, probably you don't want a Cartesian product.
No.
Yeah. And so what we are doing is that we're pushing args here and here, more or less.
So in other words, what's happening is that first level of the list we can consider as a set of properties or attributes.
I get it. But the fact that you're treating, what was var args, you have stuffed into a list now. So what you're telling me is address of list ABC is equivalent to, could you write it out? Just address, just write out.
Yeah.
Address of list
Yes.
ABC. No, just A comma B comma C. A comma B comma C.
Okay.
A comma B comma
Is
C.
equivalent to yeah.
Forget the strings. I don't care about the strings.
I got it.
Is equivalent to
ABC.
address of the thing without any braces.
Correct. Except that this guy will return an extra list.
So the list goes outside, right? So
yeah, so
there's a list outside.
So this guy will return a list with one object inside, and this guy directly returns one object. That's the only difference. But yeah, they are equivalent.
Are you happy with that? I mean, it's a little weird in my book, and I mean, I think there are many cases where.
Well, I think this is useful, and is especially useful for interactive use, I think, because
yes,
you want to explore an object and get multiple stuff out of it. Yeah. The problem is that, you know, it would have been better if this guy would be returning an association, but it can't.
No, I forget that. I'm just concerned about whether the multiply listed lists are sensible.
They're going to be flattened, but yeah.
What do you mean they're going to be flattened? They're not flattened.
Well, yes, they are flattened at some point, meaning that if you have, because what I was saying is that if here you have another list, and then, you know, what I'm simply doing.
And what if they don't agree in length?
No, they don't. They don't need to because because this guy.
No, I understand. Those are going inside.
Yeah, they go inside, but they go inside even with the list. And then I'm just going to flatten on the second level, and then I'm going to normalize.
Wait! What are you doing there? What the heck is that? No, what is that? I don't understand that.
Well, I'm not going to document that you can write that, but. You know, I'm just saying that we are flattening on the second level, and then we're normalizing this list by converting.
I have to go to something else here. I have to go to something else, I'm afraid. I'm a little concerned about this. I would implement, I would document the syntax that you were really confident about, and I would leave some of this other stuff that seems. I mean, this multiply nested lists where it's kind of a toggle of whether you get.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's not really necessary for the first iteration.
Fine.
Yeah.
And then we've got some freedom to deal with what these lists mean. But I think the fully qualified syntax, and I guess I'm reluctantly agreeing on your right composition thing. Okay. That all seems to make sense to me.
Okay, great.
And I think this single level list as a way to get multiple, that is what we've done in entity value and what we've done in a million other places.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? The double level thing seems to me questionable.
Okay.
I don't think we have precedence for that either. And I have to run, but thank you all. And this is nice, good stuff. All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
See you all
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.